So up next, I'm going to be adding percussion to the song. First off, I'm just going to create an audio track and drag in a loop that I like here. It's a little choppy thing that I made. Pretty much just like little percussion blips that are pitched weird. So yeah, I'm just going to drag this guy in right here. Starting at, let's see, starting around when the drums start to sort of change. So I'm gonna loop this. I'm gonna check the warp mode first because I think it's a different tempo. Yeah, gonna switch to this. It sounds a little odd, so I'm going to rewarp it a little bit. This last guy right here is off a little, so I'm going to warp this right here. There we go. It's a little bit better. Then I'm just going to duplicate this across, probably up until, let's see here, up until the drop pretty much, so it's going to go throughout the breakdown and throughout the build up until right here when everything cuts out. Then next I'm just going to copy this over and put it, let's see, yeah, right about there. Duplicate this through. It's basically doing the same thing as it was before. So yeah, it just kind of like ties everything together a little better. And then at the end as well, going pretty much up until the end. Well, not the very end, but just the end of the where the drums cut out. So gonna duck this down about -8 decibels so it's not so loud. And then after that, going to add in a chant here that me and my friends actually recorded. And this is pretty much just going to go throughout the second half of the drop. So on the offbeats, just standard trap, pretty generic sort of thing. But I'm going to cut it off whenever there's a fill. So let's see here. Unwarp this for sure, so it's not getting any artifacts or anything. Let's see here. Yeah, that's perfect. So I pitched this up a couple half steps because I wanted it to be in the same key and match the energy of the song. Otherwise, that doesn't feel right. Just the initial hey sound doesn't feel right to me. So I mean, it could work, but it's just I'm not into that. I like it being a little higher. To me, high pitched hays on the offbeat sound a bit more hypey personally. So I'm just gonna duplicate this over, cut it off right here. Then next I'm going to copy this over to the second drop. Okay, so bring this down a little bit on the sampler here, the simpler, whatever you like calling it. And I'm gonna EQ out some of the low end there because it feels a little bit, yeah, see that you can kind of see in there, there's some low end going on. Yeah, so next what I'm going to do is add in this sort of like Foley loop throughout the song. I really like using Foley loops a lot because I think it adds a lot of like personality to the track, especially if you record it yourself. I really enjoy kind of making my own samples and everything. So to me, adding in that sort of Foley loop adds its own character. It's like no one else is going to be using this Foley loop. So I actually recorded this in Venice Beach. It was a random sound of somebody walking next to me with a bike. And I just ended up like looping it over and over again. It sounds really cool. So I'm going to pick this up and drop this in right here when the 808 kicks in. Just loop it up pretty much to the build. Let's see here. Make sure that doesn't get off time or anything. So all right, let's see this. This guy down a little bit. Yeah, so I'm just gonna loop this up until it starts building here, and then copy it over to post drop here. So pretty much doing it. Then all the way to the outro at the end. You know, I really like structuring my songs from the get-go. Like some other people, like, you know, they'll make sections and structure it, but I've always sort of just structured from the get-go, like when I just start writing the track. So I kind of know where everything's at the entire time and know how the song is going to go, and I have it sort of in my head. So yeah, after that though, I'm going to add in some hi-hats. So let's see. These all trap songs need some sort of hi-hat feel. Let's see here. An old friend of mine made this hat. It's basically just white noise, just EQ'd in an interesting way. Not from any pack, we just made kind of like this random batch of samples that we use a lot, so kind of cool. So let's see here. This guy's gonna come in when the drums sort of all come in here, so it's gonna be just doing eighth notes. Definitely want to shorten the tail on that. I feel like it's a little too much sustain going on here. Drop the decay down to 250 milliseconds. Yeah, it feels a lot better. So just loop this all the way up until the drop. But when it hits the, well, not up until the drop, but up until the build. So when it hits the build, I'm going to drop this down an octave so it's more like lo-fi hats, and there's more emphasis on whatever the vocal is or whatever the lead sound is that you're trying to get the listener to pay attention to. So this building, it's just going to say static and just do the same thing. So at the drop, I'm going to vary up the hi-hats a little bit just so it's more fitting to the kind of feel that I want here. So yeah, because I don't want it to just stay the eighth notes the whole time. So we're going to add some trills in there. So cut this off right when that first hit comes because we want that to just be kind of a silence thing after that. Maybe we should trill right when that bass comes in. Basically what I'm doing is just duplicating each thing and either cutting the time in half or expanding it depending on whatever I'm feeling. You can throw some triplets here and there, but for this one I didn't really do many triplets, so. gonna kind of mix and match this here. Just keep duplicating this. And then basically the second half of the drop does a very similar thing to the first half, so I'm going to consolidate this and duplicate. So I'm going to copy over that the hats from the first section here to the second section. So it's kind of going to do the same thing. Then for the outro, standard again, just up until the absolute outro, because I just want that Foley loop to kind of cut through along with the synth and the 808 here. To get some processing going on this hi-hat, I actually kind of want some panning action going on. So first what I'm going to do is add in an auto pan, just right here. Bring the, basically bring the amount all the way up. And let's see, I'm trying to think. See how that sounds. Panning trap hats is actually a really cool thing because it adds almost like a really good width to the stereo field of what your song is. So I really like it. And let's see, yeah. So I think that's good as is actually the way that sounded. So I think next we're just gonna EQ out some of that low end. It's a very midsy hat that I have, and there's a little bit of low end going on in there too. And you don't want any of that with hats, especially for this kind of music. So. Then you gotta cut out that end part right there, so let's see. All right. So after that, I kind of like adding sort of interesting loops into my productions. Like, it's just like similarly to the Foley loop here. So one thing that I really like doing sometimes is recording my own breaths, and this can create a very dramatic effect and affect the emotional standpoint of the song. Like it can really sort of draw a lot of drama within the track. So I have this little breath loop in here. It's just kind of like a weird breath thing that I recorded in my MacBook mic. And I'm going to just take this and place it just right here, just right when the drums kind of come in. And first off, though, I'm going to actually pitch this down. So pitch down about 5, actually. Yeah, so basically, it just sounds like a deeper breath as opposed to like my high pitch squeaky voice breath that I have. So. Then. I'm going to move this to the right point here. So I'm going to start about basically I'm going to start during the build section with this, just to sort of add that intense feel that breathing generally causes in songs. So next I'm going to add just an EQ to cut out some of the lows because there's a little bit of low end action going on in there. Let's So let's see here. All right, so basically going to implement this to the rest of the song. I want to put this on the second half of the drop as well to create that same sort of feel the breathing creates with like the rhythm and everything. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over there. Then do it again at this section as well. Again, second half of the drop. Yeah, so. So after that's added, I'm going to add a ride cymbal, just one that I made out of white noise. They're pretty easy to make. Just do a white noise with a just decay on it, no sustain. Just make a little ride with if you get the envelope right, do a little bit of the pitch on the white noise. So let's see what we have here. It's kind of some panning action going on with this. So I'm just going to throw this in here. Basically, just going to add this to the drops and post-drop just to keep the energy going with the sort of high-end energy there. Just doing eighth notes right when that hits right there. I'm not going to do it on every beat here because there is that gap happening. Yeah, that feels good. Yeah, so duplicate that over. All right, so I'm gonna bring this guy down to like, just gonna bring this down a little more. Let's see. Yeah, negative 16 decibels feels good on that. So next I'm going to actually, kind of don't want to be so, it's a little bit too much low end in that too. So I'm gonna actually EQ out that low end there. Okay, so next what we're going to do is group all the tracks together similarly to the rest of the groups and just add some post-processing on that. So grouping these together, I'm going to rename this Percussion just to stay organized. And firstly, what I'm going to do is add just an EQ8 standard. Turn on oversampling. On groups, always turn on oversampling, by the way. Like, I mean, individual instruments, not as big of a deal, but I feel like when you're EQing a group of instruments, it's crucial to make sure it's as high of quality of an EQ as you can get. Just because you're affecting everything, you don't want the quality of your EQ to compensate the quality of the track. So I'm going to just cut some of the low end here, just a little bit of the mids. Then lastly, add a saturator. Doing a soft sign, just keeping on the soft clip right here. Bringing this down 4.50 decibels. And yeah, so let's hear how that sounds. Cool, sounding pretty good, actually. And then lastly here, like final thing on the percussion, I'm going to actually also send it to the sidechain bus, just so it cuts out whenever the kick comes in. Yeah, it feels good. Cool. So that's it for the percussion on the song. Join me in the next video for when I do vocals.